numbers of students registering a mental health condition has gone up significantly year on year. We're dealing with what is a growing national phenomenon.
One in 4 people in the UK will experience a mental health problem each year. These difficulties can affect people at any time, but are worsened by the stress of moving out of home, exams and deadlines. It's no surprise then that university students living through this period of transition report higher than average incidence of mental distress. An NUS survey found that 8 out of 10 students experienced mental health issues in 2014. The Mental Wellbeing in Higher Education group reported in their 2015 guidance document that the proportion of disabled students who declared a mental health condition increased from 5.9% in 2007-8 to 9.6% in 2011-12.
The counselling service here sees approximately 1,000 plus students a year, which is roughly speaking 10%. So Sussex students are quite high users of the counselling service because the sector average is about 4%.
We focused on Sussex University as a case study, examining the support available and what students think of it. The Student Life Centre provides help, information and resources to support students through university. The counselling service provides one-on-one and group counselling. The Student Support Unit provides specialist support for students who have declared a long-term mental health condition before joining the university. Many improvements have been made to the services, and the university does seem to be trying to find ways to help manage the overwhelming demand for support. In 2013, a joint action plan was signed between the university and the union, which among other things pledged to improve mental health support for students at Sussex. However, sources inside the union say that little action has been taken by the university. Meanwhile, student numbers continue to rise, and the support services are feeling the strain. This is the picture across the country, with the Times reporting that demand for counselling services has gone up by 68% at Russell Group universities since 2011. The increased demand and subsequent thinning of resources has had a negative effect on the students who are most in need of help.
I went online and booked my appointment during October. So they did warn me it's going to be a wait, and so the wait turned out to be a little over 6 weeks.
I checked all the ticks and all the boxes saying, yes, I want to kill myself, I want to die, blah, 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 everything. But I think it took 2 weeks.
I think the services are perfectly adequate once you're in the system and once you're getting them. But in terms of having services for students when they're suffering a crisis, there is really limited support.
The support staff at Sussex seem sensitive to these issues.
We wouldn't not refer a student to counselling services because of an awareness in the waiting list, because it varies depending on when you want the appointment, and sometimes you can book appointments for the next day or that day even, depending on bookings and cancellations. We would also make sure that the counselling service isn't the only service that we refer students to.
In terms of the waiting times, we find it a nightmare. I mean, I know students find it stressful, but so do we. It makes us actually quite concerned and quite upset when you think that students' lives move very fast and we know they may not get to see a counsellor for a couple of months. If anyone is ever, though, in a total state, all they have to do is come into reception and one of us will see them.
2 years after the Conservatives raised tuition fees, George Osborne announced another controversial change in his 2014 autumn statement.
But there is still a cap on aspiration. Each year, around 60,000 young people who have worked hard at school, got the results, want to go on learning, and want to take out a loan to pay for it are prevented from doing so because of an arbitrary cap. That makes no sense when we have a lower proportion of people going to university than even the United States, let alone countries like South Korea. Access to higher education is a basic tenet of economic success in the global race. So today I can announce that next year we will provide 30,000 more student places, and the year after we will abolish the cap on student numbers altogether.
The numbers of students registering a mental health condition has gone up significantly year on year. Lifting of the cap will add to that, but we're dealing with what is a growing national phenomenon in terms of increasing mental health difficulties.
The university's Making the Future strategy document details its plans for student growth of around 50% by 2018, as they plan to increase numbers to 18,000. The Making the Future document makes no mention of student support facilities being expanded to cope with this fairly predictable increase in demand. We contacted Sussex's Registrar, Pro-Vice-Chancellor, Policy and Project Manager and Director of Student Services for their comments on the issue of student mental health. Our requests were met with silence, though the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Claire Mackey, did email to say that we don't provide mental health services. The NHS does that. Instead, we provide support via the Student Support Unit for registered students who have a disability that may give them significant disadvantage in completing their degrees without additional support. By additional support, I mean over and above that provided by the local NHS.
The NHS is completely overwhelmed. I mean, if we think we're struggling with numbers, they are completely overwhelmed. It's creaking at the seams. There's absolutely no way that the NHS could pick up, I don't know, 15,000 students, whatever there are here. And again, that's what my colleagues at other universities say. It's simply impossible. So it's a no-brainer. It's not going to happen.
We put in a Freedom of Information request to the university. When the budget amount per student was calculated, it shows that the university has been increasing its spending. But is it enough? Ruth Caleb, the chair of the Mental Wellbeing and Higher Education Group and the head of counselling at Brunel University, echoed these concerns. But university student services have been so used to being asked to do more for less that we have perhaps just got on with the job as best we can. Now we have no more from the less to give. The new academic year and a new welfare officer, there are many plans for the future and new ways to provide support for students. Improvements are also being made by the university.
We have adjusted the way our rota system works. So we have a drop-in advisor available in a way that we didn't previously. We also have 2 on-the-day appointments that are available.
Union sources told us that a new action plan between them and the university is to be announced soon. Hopefully this is a sign that the issue is being taken seriously and that significant changes will be made in the future.